My husband and I have been married for 10 years. We've always kept our finances separate. Part of the reason we've chosen to do this is because he's 15 years older than me and had older children when we met. We agreed the kids were his, and so were their expenses. I've done quite well in my career, and in the past 5 years had quite a bit more disposable income than my husband, both because I make more money and I don't have the expensive children, university, etc. If there's a trip or something I want to go on that my husband can't afford, I happily pay his way, no questions asked. One of the things I do spend a good deal of money on is horses. Horses have been a passion of mine since I was a child, and I got back into riding around the time I got married. Recently, I've decided that I've progressed to the point to buy a pretty nice Dutch warm blood with an excellent pedigree. This was an expensive purchase, about $85,000, but it is a lifelong dream. Usually, my husband would have not said a word. However, one of his children is trans and has decided to pursue bottom surgery. This is apparently quite pricey as well, and neither my husband, his ex, nor the child have the money. The child is no longer eligible for either parent's health insurance. They have asked me to foot the bill, and I declined. This is simply not a place I want to spend my money. My husband is livid that I spent $85,000 on this horse, but will not help with this surgery. So, am I the idiot for buying an expensive horse when I won't pay for someone's non-emergent surgery? Edited to add, it wasn't the horse or the surgery, it could have been both, I suppose. I declined to pay for the surgery because that kind of involvement with his kids is a can of worms I don't want to open. My husband just associates it with the horse. No idiots here, it's your money. You and your husband agreed this a long time ago. You both agreed that they're his kids and therefore his financial burden, so you have no obligation to help out in any way. That being said, if I was in your position, I know what I would have done with the money. I wouldn't have bought the horse. I would have made a generous donation to the cost of the surgery. I don't think you're an idiot. I think you're just not the most generous or compassionate person on the planet. And hey, that's okay. There's a huge spectrum between idiot and saint. No one in this situation is at either end. You are not the idiot. If the child wants the surgery, they can 1. Save for it, 2. Take out a loan, or 3. Get their own insurance and wait a year. I've paid for an elective surgery for a family member. If anything goes wrong or they change their mind, you're the one they will blame and say you enabled them to rush into the decision. Why are you suddenly expected to fund your husband's kid's surgery when, for the last 10 years, you've been living with the agreement that he is financially responsible for them? Something's up here. It sounds like this pair has been together, but is not a family per se, so OP is being treated like a piggy bank and everyone is circling with hammers. Gross. OP, would it be kind to contribute, not foot the entire bill? Absolutely. Are you obligated? Absolutely not. From all the comments I've seen, you're not wrong. Although, if you can elaborate on how you've been financially helping out before it has backfired on you, that would be great to know. Personally, I think the way the stepkids treat you is one of the most important factors here. Married 1 year, took the kids to Europe. They were brats the whole time, and when the, of age in the country we were in, child had wine, their mother yelled at me upon our return home. Married 4 years, bought child 2 a car. Car was totaled in a week and I was the bad guy for not replacing it. Married 5 years. Child in question needed inpatient rehab. I paid. When child relapsed, I was the subject of the mother's anger for not getting a nicer one. You are not the idiot. Enjoy your gorgeous horse. No reason you should pay for a fellow adult surgery with whom the relationship is cordial and polite at best. There are 2 fully functioning parents in that person's life. It's crappy suddenly you are expected to step up when they can't afford something. I, 21 female, live near the beach and often go swimming in the morning. 99% of the time I'm the only person there, and it's the only me time I get during the day. There's a condo overlooking the beach and a small shop nearby that I usually go to afterwards. On some occasions I would notice a drone hovering in the vicinity while I was swimming or relaxing in the sun. I didn't think much of it because it was never really close. A few days ago I went into the shop and a woman approached me. We made small talk and she told me she lives in the condo with her family. Then she told me that she has 3 sons who often wake up early to watch me swim. That was very weird and I really didn't know what to say. I never noticed anyone watching me from the windows or the balcony. She went on to say that I've been distracting her kids and warned me that they were watching me with the drone. I was even more weirded out and told the woman that she should teach her sons that their actions are not acceptable. She just kept saying that they're going through puberty and that I shouldn't be surprised. I told her that her attitude was disturbing and that she should discipline her children instead of warning me about them. She was very offended when I said this and insisted that they're well behaved. She said that I should stop coming to the beach if I feel uncomfortable. Apparently her husband also agrees that I probably shouldn't be going there as I'm causing their kids to be distracted. I told her they should focus on becoming decent parents instead of telling strangers what to do. She got angry that I criticised their parenting, or lack thereof, told me to show respect and said that I don't know what I'm talking about since I'm not a mother raising 3 boys. Am I the idiot? Definitely not the idiot. This woman thinks it's normal and okay for her sons to creep on a woman and then has the nerve to tell you it's your fault and you shouldn't go to a public beach. Sounds like she's a huge idiot. The grossest part of this is that the mom knows it's wrong and disgusting, enough so that she felt the need to warn OP about the vile crap that was happening to her at the hands of her sons. She knows it's wrong and she knows no one should have to put up with it, but she doesn't have the decency to discipline her own children. If those were my kids, that drone would suffer an unfortunate accident involving a hammer. Not the idiot. It is not boys will be boys, it's boys will be held accountable for their actions. They are clearly misogynists, blaming you for their kids' poor behaviour. Straight victim blaming and shaming. She knew exactly what they were doing, yet she acts like she's powerless as the parent. How difficult would it be to tell her kids that they cannot use the drone in the morning if they're going to creep on someone in the morning? Oh, you defied my instructions? Your drone has to go away for a while. It's very disturbing that it's easier to blame women and berate them for a perceived lack of modesty for something normal than to actually parent your children. Yes, puberty is normal, but how hard is it to acknowledge that to your kids and say it still doesn't give you a right to stalk unsuspecting women? Probably the same type of parent that says kids will be kids as they are running around restaurants screaming. So messed up. Not the idiot. Report the conversation to the police and ask that you would just like to request that an officer drop by and clarify for mummy and daddy that it's their responsibility to ensure that their children are not using a drone to stalk women on the beach, and that it is not acceptable for mummy and daddy to warn you away from the beach. My wife and I have a 2-month-old daughter. For the past month, she's been feeding our baby mashed potatoes, applesauce, sweet tea, assorted fruit juices and other things. The last time we went to the doctor, our paediatrician told us not to give her anything but formula until she was between 4 and 6 months old. My wife doesn't care and she says she knows best for our child and our doctor isn't the parent. Our daughter is always constipated and screams for hours at night that my wife says is colic. I've asked her numerous times to stop feeding our infant table food and go back to giving her formula. She's only feeding her 1 or 2 bottles of formula while I'm at work. The other morning she was cooking scrambled eggs and oatmeal and I was off to work, so I started to make our daughter a bottle and feed her, and she stopped me and told me not to fill her up with that and she wanted her to eat her oatmeal first. I fed her the bottle anyway after a huge argument. Well, baby had a doctor's appointment and my wife was talking about the colic and screaming fits, and when the doctor asked what she was feeding her, she only said formula, nothing else. I was angry because she lied and told the paediatrician every single thing that she'd been giving her, and the doctor strongly recommended her to stop and that she was causing stomach upset and more than likely the reason for all her stomach issues. Instead of being apologetic for this, my wife is mad at me and told me I ratted her out to the doctor and that she doesn't have to listen to her and that it's only a recommendation and that I made her look like a bad parent. I tell her what a selfish little witch she was being, and now she wants me to go stay with my parents until she forgives me and asks me to come home. Am I the idiot here? Maybe I shouldn't have flew mad at her and said some things I did. Maybe I should apologize to my wife. Not the idiot. What your wife is doing to your daughter can cause long-term damage to her digestive system. Not giving her formula can also contribute to her losing weight and not growing. I would suggest you talk to your paediatrician away from your wife for her to get a full picture. It's child neglect. OP, I urge you to supervise every feeding. Your daughter can choke to death having food. She's not ready for anything but milk. This is extremely serious. You are not the idiot. She lied to the doctor because she knew deep down what she's doing to her baby by feeding it whole foods and fluids is wrong, and the reason for the problems he or she is currently having. OP, consider getting the baby away from her ASAP. Get a note from the pediatrician and get that to your divorce attorney. The child endangerment must be stopped, either via a separation or if the doctor gets CPS involved. It screams some kind of postpartum disorder to me, maybe not depression but definitely something similar, which is super scary given that a child's life is literally on the line right now. In my opinion, OP needs to get his wife some help if he can, and get himself and daughter away ASAP before this escalates to something worse. I thought this too. I wonder if the wife is suffering from postpartum depression and in a way is purposely trying to harm her child. Depression can mess with your mind in weird ways. OP, your first obligation is to make sure your daughter is properly cared for. Even if it upsets your wife, you need to always tell the doctor what is going on. Your infant doesn't absorb nutrients from solid food and can starve to death due to being fed things her body cannot absorb. She is only getting 2 bottles of food a day. The rest might as well be styrofoam to a baby. Your child's mom is not well mentally. Mom does not always know best. You should go stay at your parents until she forgives you and take your daughter with you. The girl needs a parent. You are the idiot for letting this go on so long. Don't ever put your wife's ego ahead of your child's health. My brother, 42, and I, 34 female, share a house. He lives with his wife, 40, and daughter on the lower floor. I live with my husband on the top floor. Anyway, his daughter, nearly adult, loves drawing and painting. She is talented, willing to learn, and loves to paint. He and his wife, however, think that it's a waste of time and that she should pursue something that will provide a living, like economy. While I do agree that it's easier to find a decent job as an accountant, I believe that she shouldn't drop something that makes her this happy. Her face lights up when she paints. You can see how relaxed she is, how much she's enjoying painting. They have cut off all her allowance and only give her the minimal amount of money for food, cosmetics she needs, clothes, etc. But that is monitored because they know she will blow her money on brushes and paint. I gave her money on a few occasions to buy the paints and brushes because she can hide those and they won't notice. The expenses are not that high, they can afford it, they just want to suppress everything to do with painting, so she turns to economy and banking. I am not a mother, I don't know if this is the right thing to do, but my heart breaks for her when they mistreat her like that. They've thrown away the art she made more than once too. I've talked to my husband and he agrees that it's fine to help her out, and I'm seriously tempted to give her my card so she can buy the things she needs. Am I the idiot for helping her do what makes her soul happy? Soft, not the idiot here. Your brother and his wife are being terrible and emotionally harming their daughter in ways that will affect her future, while actively suppressing coping mechanisms and relaxation habits she has. It's awful that they would throw away her art and try to stop her from pursuing a fun, non-dangerous hobby that she loves. It's amazing that she has you to support her, and you should absolutely continue doing so. I only say soft because if your brother ever finds out about your support, it will put both you and her in a tough and uncomfortable situation, and they may double down on suppressing her hobbies and isolate you from one another. Continue supporting her on the sly for now, but you should have a talk with your brother about how she's allowed to pursue more than one thing and how they're doing her more mental and emotional harm than good with their dictating ways. Not the idiot. While it's iffy because she's not an adult yet, I suggest that you suddenly take up a desire to learn how to paint. Get a list from your niece containing the supplies she likes, wants, needs, and buy them for yourself. Keep everything in your house, then pay for her art lessons. In reality, you'll be giving her a place to create and a place to store her supplies you know they won't get tossed. My parents and my man still encourage my creativity, and I'm 37. I paint, crochet, quilt, bake, and decorate cakes and cookies, garden, and write. There are other things I eventually want to try as well. Keep encouraging your niece, OP. OP, please do it this way. This will help her and give you an excuse to buy her the equipment she needs. That way, her parents can't do anything since the equipment is yours. You sound like a great aunt, and if you ever have kids, you will be a greater parent than those two. My boyfriend is a very aggressive driver. Whenever we're on the road, he's always bragging about how he's able to outmaneuver the traffic ahead. And just how does he achieve this? By driving very erratically and cutting in front of other drivers, or swerving across 4 lanes at once without signalling, or taking random, unnecessary, bumpy shortcut roads that save 2 minutes at most. There's been so many close calls, especially at night, that I prefer to just shut my eyes and grip the door handle for most of the journey because his driving makes me so anxious. It's worth noting that he doesn't necessarily speed, so the close calls would have been small scrapes due to him cutting in people's lanes if they had happened. So he's not putting our lives in danger, just the car at risk of some very avoidable fender benders. I've complained about it so many times, and he says that the way he drives is necessary, because there's always crazy traffic, so it's either drive like that or crawl. So tonight he was driving and there was some traffic as usual, but our turn was coming up on the right, so I expected him to just wait in the lane we were in. Instead, he swerved across a few lanes just to inch a little further and a little quicker, and then swerved back into the lane we were supposed to be in to make the turn, all in the space of a few minutes. While doing this, another car bumped into him and chipped the paint on his car, but there was no dent. He was livid and blaming the driver, but the driver wasn't having it since he was clearly at fault. He expected me to back him up, but I didn't say a word the whole time because I was very irritated myself. I told him to just be patient, but as usual he didn't listen. I waited in the car while he settled with the other driver, and when he got back he was upset with me for not having his back. I told him that the other driver wasn't at fault, and he should have just waited. He said that the only reason we were out tonight was because I wanted to pick something up, so I was being extremely ungrateful since he was doing me a favour and this wouldn't have happened if we weren't on the road tonight because of me. To which I said it wouldn't have happened if he weren't driving like a stupid lunatic. We rode back home in silence and he hasn't spoken to me since. Am I the idiot? Not the idiot. He sounds like he shouldn't even be allowed on the road. Also, the whole "the only reason we are out here is you" thing is messed up. That's straight up emotional manipulation, trying to guilt trip you into taking responsibility for something that's his fault. You're all idiots here, mostly him. Him, for obvious reasons, driving that dangerously will kill someone. You for just dealing with his aggressive, dangerous driving, rather than making any attempt to change the behaviour you so vividly describe as reckless and dangerous. Why are you still dating this man? Honestly, I think this behaviour shows how much he respects you and cares for your safety. If you do keep dating him, please never get in the car with him again. You are the idiot. He isn't putting lives in danger. He absolutely is. He's putting the lives of every single person on the road, including pedestrians on the sidewalk, in danger. And chance is, he has caused accidents and injuries already. He just doesn't know it. He cuts someone off, they hit the brakes, the car behind swerves, the car next to them tries to get out of the way and runs someone else off the road. By the time the people in the accident stop and figure out what happened, the other people in the chain of reaction are long gone. And it's not just physical injuries. Vehicle damage may well mean someone has to take their car off the road for a time, get repairs done that they might not be able to afford, and so on. All for the sake of saving a few minutes, which in reality almost never does.